welcome to the Freedom Team show for the month of February. My name is Mike Kryzanek, and I'm a member of the Whitman Freedom Team. I'm here with the founder of the Whitman Team, Father Tom Evans. Just to give you some idea of what we're about as an organization, you can see the banner in the back here. We're emphasizing love, inclusion, and trust, and a community spirit. And so our organization is there to try to bring people together in the town of Whitman and to have them participate in an active way to make Whitman a better community, no matter what area of life they may be in, what occupation, and what ways that they can better improve themselves and improve the town that we live in. And so with that little bit of an introduction, let me hand it over to Tom Evans, who will introduce two very special guests that we have today that I think will be instrumental in trying to improve the life of the people here in Whitman. Tom?
Thanks, Michael. I'm glad to be here. One of the things I'd like to add to Michael's statement is that those are our goals, achieving the three things: love, inclusion, and trust. But we've expanded that to add education, and part of it is the TV show that we have today. So our special guest today is Pastor Gardner from the Whitman Methodist Church. Thanks for being here. And Father Adrian Milik, who is the pastor of the Holy Ghost Church in Whitman and the St. Bridget Church in Abington. The two parishes make up the Light of Christ Catholic Collaborative. So it's a pleasure to be here. Michael, if you would like to start off the first question, go ahead.
I'll start up since I'm a member of the Catholic Church. I'll start here with Father Milik. One of the things I think that's important that we talk about here on the show is way to improve people's attitude towards each other. How can they come together? How can they live a better life? How can they be less angry? And how can they be kind-spirited? So in your interaction with people in church or outside of church, or as you prepare your sermon, what are some of the themes that you try to accent in terms of creating a better community spirit here in Whitman and within your church community?
Sure. So I think that it's an excellent question and something that we are all need to be thinking about, because there is a lot. There's a lot of anger in the world, and it's something that we need to make sure that is not planting roots in our hearts. And I think there's a couple things that I believe are important, and I try to encourage people to do. And the first of that is to recognize that while feelings are not entirely in our control, how we react to those feelings are. Because I wish I could wake up in the morning and say, today I feel like I'm going to be happy until the mid-afternoon, then maybe just for variety's sake I'll be depressed for a while, and then I'll just have a calm evening until just a little bit of rage right before bed, just to kind of get myself going. You can't really do that, but you can recognize when an emotion is there and start to process it rather than letting it control you. Okay. And I think one of the ways we can do that is by just being aware, and then making sure that we have found the things that help us to kind of come to process those emotions. Some people find music can be very helpful with that. Exercise can be great for some people. Nature. I have a cat. There's nothing better when I'm kind of dealing with like a tough day than to be able to sit down and just pet my cat for a little bit. It just really grounds me and reminds me that, okay, there's tough things in the world, but there's more than the troubles. Yeah. And if we can find daily blessings, little joys for the day, they can be a real help to kind of get back to being myself, mm-hmm. and find the things in others that are good and important, or just human and valuable. Mm-hmm. One thing that helped me years ago with fellow drivers in the road is when someone told me to stop seeing the car that's doing something that's annoying me and start seeing a person that's stuck in the same traffic I'm in.
Yeah.
Because if I'm looking at that Toyota that cut me off, I can just very easily just get caught up in the frustration of that. And then as I keep staring at that Toyota logo for minute after minute after minute, I get more and more angry. But if I get cut off and I say, okay, this person was clearly frustrated with this traffic pattern that we're both upset about, and they're making decisions that can be dangerous for them and for others, I can say, okay, Lord, please bless this person, help them to find the peace, help them to get safely home. And by praying for them, I find I calm down too. And I think that those types of things can be very helpful because they take us out of ourselves, and when we get out of ourselves, it becomes easier to find that peace, to find that community, to find that love and that trust.
Pastor Gardner, when you're in front of the congregation, what do you tell them about how they can improve their lives, how they can be good Christian citizens and members of the community?
Well, I always start off first with forgiveness. Is to tell everybody, when I pray, I always say, Lord, forgive us as we forgive those who have done things to us. Because if you start off without forgiveness in your heart, your day is already going to start off bad because you're harboring ill will. So if you wake up and you say, okay, Lord, I might not have done everything I should have done. I may have said some things I should not have said. I may have overlooked somebody who might have been hungry because, in my feelings, I might have thought I was better than that person. So if we start off with forgiveness, then we clear the slate before we move into the day. And then from there, a spirit of thankfulness. Just be thankful because there's always somebody worse off than you. We may not have a steak in the refrigerator, but we have hot dogs. Somebody might not even have a hot dog. So we have to have a spirit of thankfulness. We're not going to have everything we want, but there's always someone worse off than you are. And love. Just love somebody. The song back in the day said what the world needs now is love. Yeah. That's the only thing that there's just too little of. And you fast forward to now, the world needs love. So I preach forgiveness, thankfulness, and love. Because if you have all of those things, everything else will fall into place. And stop trying to be in control. Can't control everything and everybody. All you can control is yourself. And I say, don't worry. It's only one day that we have to worry about. Don't worry about yesterday, it's gone. Don't worry about tomorrow because it's not promised. So what we have to only worry about is right here, right now, where we are. And if we could keep that in our mind and focus, then we should be okay. And it's just that simple. It's not you don't need to go to Harvard and get a whole book, or you don't have to read the Bible from page 1 to page 2 because Jesus was the perfect example. Just love. Just love everybody. And that's what I preach at the church is love. Everybody who comes into church is welcome. And I ask them during the welcoming of the visitors, did you feel welcome when you came through the door? And I tell them, if you would have said no, I would have told you not to come back. Because I wouldn't come back if I walked into a church and didn't feel, loved or comfortable. So that's all we need to do is just smile. Just love somebody because you don't want to, because you have to. And that's the whole thing. We have so much, like he said, the little things, the traffic and people honking at you, and now you get the finger. People just so rude. But if you focus out of that and focus on the goodness of God, it overshadows all of that other stuff. And you're just going about your business.
And get a cat.
And get a cat. I don't have a cat, but get a cat.
Previously, we were talking, before you came, Father, about just things in general in the town, and the topic came on to the Park Avenue School, which is vacant. And Pastor Gardner said, gee, that would be a good place for a youth center. And I think maybe two of you could address that. Do you see anything that our youth in our town could use? It seems like there's a lot of time, particularly in the summertime, where a lot of kids are hanging around whether it be at the park, kind of getting into some little mischievous stuff, kind of stuff. And could you think about what you might think about for the future and how you would address something like that, or need for that?
I think in the town, coming from Maryland, and when I grew up, there were recreation centers and all forms of things. Even in the churches, my church at home had a basketball court with that, and we had a church league. It's just nothing for the youth to do around here, and I was shocked. I heard there used to be a skateboard park, and now that's gone, and all you see is hanging in the park. There's nothing doing. It's all of this property that's abandoned, like that school, that could be used or could have been used as a recreation center, a learning center. Now you could have added some computers and some other things for the kids to be able to do instead of just hanging in the park at the gazebo. Sometimes I see some softball going on, but I'm not sure if there's a league. And you know, there's so much that could be done if there was a place to do it. And I don't think there is a place, a building where these things can be done. Now, unless we open up our churches and try to do some things, but even at that point, there's limitations that a church can do because of rules and regulations that, you know, the state has and things like that. For example, if you want to feed somebody, you have to have certain kind of dishwashing and things like that. But if we could just find a space, or if not even a space, if we could just do something in the community once a month, something where you can draw the kids together, put a big tent out there and do something, have some type of show or something other than to get them from off of their phones and on the computers and Snapchat. Because if you look, when TikTok went off for a little while, everybody was having a fit because TikTok was gone. They didn't know what they were going to do. So I think if we have any kind of vacant space that can be utilized as recreation/education, for our kids, I think that will be able to bring them together on another level other than social media to help them to develop skills. Because I asked the kid one day about longhand math. They didn't know what I was talking about because everything is in a calculator. I was like, no, you have to carry the one and drop, you know, because they don't know those things anymore. And I think if we had something that kids will feel a sense of wanting, because we have kids who are living with grandparents, you know, and we have kids that's moving in, that's marginalized from the city into there, and it's just nothing for them to do. So I think this group is a good way to start, a good way to start and help us come together and find a way to get something done.
Yeah, and to kind of, in terms of one thing that I miss from my own childhood is the amount of unscheduled kind of time that I remember having. That is, there's just not happening as much anymore. You know, when I talk to parents, it's a lot of you know, at this hour we have this arranged play date, then there's this class. You know, so when, you know, so as great as things like the softball league are, which I do think those are wonderful and great opportunities for the kids and others, but I do think that having a space where you know, even in the, you know, cold days like today, where you know, young people could gather and in a safe kind of organized way be able to do something that's unstructured, where there's things that they can interact with without there being specifically an adult saying this is how you use these things, but just being able to because I think that's a great way of building leadership, right? If you have there and someone says, you're the team captain, do this, that's very different than when the kids come together and someone says, okay, we have, you know, this ball, these other things, you know, what can we do with it? Let's come up with teams, let's come up with you know, what game we can all agree to play, let's negotiate this. Because I do think that those are really things that I gained a lot from as a kid, having to kind of have that ability to figure out what we want to do, that can be lost when we have everything just kind of organized for them.
And to piggyback on that, since you brought up a good point, is that sometimes you have something like that and the kids can teach us older how to get to a page, how to get through the internet, how to teach us how to do things. So it's a twofold thing, something for them to do, and also something for them to show us, the latter generation, of things that they can do, which might take us 45 minutes, take them 2 seconds. So I think it's a good marriage to have something like that.
It's funny you say that, because as a teacher, I learned how to play chess from my 5th grader, Peter Hinckley, at recess time, and I got to enjoy that. And there's a lot to be said about informal play. I believe, and I really feel strongly believe this, too much of a young person's time is programmed. It's out of control because there's always a demand, and then most of them are the organized ones that involve, you got to pay money to do it. You have to have a uniform. You got to try out, and then when we try out, kids at 10, they don't make it, so they say, "I'm a loser." So that you relegate them to an audience, rather than a participant, and all those kinds of things. And when you have those things, they settle their disputes. They decide who's the leader. They decide a lot of different things that adults don't have to do. In fact, the more they interact with each other, the less they'll be on some piece of technology that is, of course, has its benefit, but it certainly has its detractors too. So,
Father, you mentioned anger, and I'll add racism or prejudice to what we face these days. What are some of the strategies that you might use when you deal with a person who's not performing or not acting in a Christian way, let's just say? Is there a way to deal with that? Because that seems to be some of the major problems that we're facing today in our society.
Well, one of the big challenges with that is that nobody wants to face the fact that they are doing that, right? No one wants to see themselves as a hateful person or a violent person or an angry person. So when you're dealing with that, you're going to always have to approach very carefully, because you don't want the person to get defensive. Because I really believe that if you start a sentence with, do you know what your problem is? It doesn't matter what the next thing is. It could be there's a knife sticking out of your shoulder, but that person's not listening to you anyway. So you have to really come to that person and help them to realize that the actions that they're doing do not match the person they want to be. And that can be very, very difficult, because again, that takes a little bit of humility, a little bit of self-knowledge to acknowledge that. And that can be challenging, especially because we do, one of the things I worry about is that we do tend to have a culture that loves to create these dichotomies, that we love to say that someone's the greatest of all time, right?
Oh yeah.
The goat at this, the goat at that.
Yeah.
And then when someone makes a mistake, we love to tear them down.
Yeah.
And so it can create this illusion within people that if I say that you're doing this wrong, that means I'm saying that you're worthless. And so I do think it's so very important to help the person recognize that they have dignity and they have value, and because of that, what they're doing is something that they have to address, they have to pray about, they have to ask for God's help with, and listen to the people around them so that they can become who they're called to be and who they want to be. Because at the end of the day, we want to be the best version of ourselves. And if we are able to embrace that and allow ourselves to be transformed, then I'm not going to be perfect in this life. None of us here is going to be perfect in this life, I believe. But we can be a little bit better than we were a week ago. And we can keep finding the places where the Lord is calling us to grow and to become more loving members of our community, and be able to connect with and learn from and share ourselves with people who are very different from us, and make our town, make our world better by doing that.
Mr. Gardner, how do you deal with somebody who's not behaving in a open and fair and non-prejudicial manner? Or you have some strategies out there that may help to turn that around?
What I do as an African American person, I'm already met with certain prejudice and certain racisms and various things of such. This is a true story. When I first came to Whitman Church, someone called me the N-word. And so I was looking around and like, who you talking to, you know? So, you know, the person said it again. And I said, I don't know what that is. And I said, I don't know who you're referring to. I said, because it certainly isn't me. And so, you know, push come to shove, the person had to have some surgery and asked me to come pray for them. So I said, okay. So I prayed for them. And before they closed their eyes, I said, just remember, you called me the N-word and I'm here praying with you. So when she opened her eyes, I said, and I'm still here. And that person became one of my biggest supporters after that. And they told me that they said that because they wanted to see if I was who I said I was, that I love everybody and things like that. The thing of dealing with that kind of stuff is that you don't feed into it. You find a positive surroundings, because Jesus hung with the lepers, the prostitutes, and everybody. So if Jesus treats everybody right, and I treat everybody right, and don't feed into it, then it kills it. It cuts the root. It's when you feed into it and fuel the fire that you get a flame from it. But if you douse it when it comes and just smile, thank you very much, or, you know, say that's not right, or, you know, sometimes they look as if I don't have a bone in my body that have any type of education. I have multiple degrees, but I don't, what does that mean? You know, people want you to be who they want you to be. And in this world, especially how it is now, all people trying to do is belong to something, be it racism, be it sexism, be it discrimination in various forms. We never had this kind of discrimination when I was coming up with all these new various kinds of discrimination. It's like so many different isms and theologies of this and theologies of that. You know, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, because God created all of us and all lives matter. And I just think if we can douse the flame of all of these people or entities or whatever it may be that's pushing out this stuff, we have to counteract it with love. Love conquers all. Like I said, I'm never going to preach somebody in hell before I tell them about heaven first. You know, you're not going to walk in my church, if you don't get yourself right, you're going to hell. No, did you know Jesus is love? And if you preach love, everything falls in the face. You don't have to worry about these other things. Just love everybody.
I'll ask both of you not real quickly, but I mean, what's your sense of the Whitman community? I mean, are you generally have a positive attitude with the people who you've encountered here in Whitman? I mean, our job is to try to improve the climate and the ability of people to get along. What's your sense? You've been here for 3, 4, 5 years as well.
So I've been blessed to be here a little bit less than 4 years now, and I was welcomed very, very warmly, and I find that just the Whitman community has been very, very kind, very good. I do really enjoy my time here, and I find that there's a lot of people who are very generous with their time, their prayers, their hearts. There's a lot of really good organizations I've had a chance to work with. A lot of individuals that have been incredible. I've just been very, very impressed with a lot of a lot that's going on in the town. I think it's a great community.
I see you nodding.
Yeah, I like Whitman. Coming from Maryland, then straight to Ohio to school, and then here. Whitman, the people are very nice. I've been here 15 years. I've never had a problem. People come in the thrift store and I speak to them, and I may see them on the street and they speak, and just to come out and see people walking their dogs or having a friendly walk and going by the coffee out down the street and the police waving at you, and anything that has ever happened, you know, everybody has been so nice and kind. And when I first got here, Whitman was like a retirement town. That's how I felt back in 2011, that it was like an older retirement town. But nevertheless, the people were sweet. all of the older people, especially in the church, kind of took me under their wing because I was, you know, an out-of-towner, and then the kids, and it's love in Whitman. It really is. It's love in Whitman, and it's a lot of love to give, and there's a lot more to do to give. But I like Whitman. I like Whitman as a whole, and the people are so friendly. The shop owners are friendly. You know, I can walk anywhere and wave at somebody, and they wave back instead of turning their head and snubbing their nose. You know, Whitman is a good community, and I really like
It's
Whitman.
encouraging, Tom, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I
you know,
like Whitman.
one of the questions I had in my mind and I put on the paper was, have you given any thought, each individually, of trying to get a collaborative of the other churches or houses of worship in the town of Whitman and maybe advocate for a particular cause? I know you all stand for love and all that, but in terms of a need that you might see that would help either the elderly or the youth or whatever it is. I know for years before you came here, Father, way before, my kids used to play basketball up at the Spelman Center. Since then, it hasn't happened for, what, 15, 20 years. But is
We
there,
used to play. Old men.
I didn't, because I was in a different league. You're only as good as your last mistake. But no, have you ever thought about having a conference or a council with everybody in the community or the near communities of Abington and Whitman could sit and talk about, you know, the same things we're going to talk about today, and maybe come up with a plan of action that might be doable?
I'm all for it. Like I said, I never turn down any opportunity to help the community. So I think it would be a good idea because we can all come together and do something as a collective town. Not this is my Whitman, this is my Abington, this is this, but
Yeah.
we're coming together for a common cause and a common good. And sometimes that's what happens is barriers are put up. And you know, I got to stay in my town. So when we break those barriers and we come together, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a wonderful idea to come together and brainstorm and do what we need to do. And it's showing solidarity, and it's showing agreement amongst various people of all aspects of life. I think it's good, and I would be into doing that.
Yeah, I'd be interested as well. I think it's always great to bring people together because that's how you get more ideas. And you know, there's a reason why we really benefit from having a diversity of voices.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you know, obviously, you know, we have different backgrounds here. You came from Maryland. I'm originally from Poland.
Yeah.
You know, our experiences are going to be flowing into you know, the ways that we look at things, and being able to hear from people from the different communities. We have you know, different resources available in terms of what we have done in the past, and so being able to kind of take the best of that, bring it together, we could come up with some good solutions out of it.
It seems like, excuse me.
No, I just wanted to say we're running out of time here, and you got some questions. You got some statements as well. I just wanted to remind people that you can see these two wonderful people here who've given us a great deal to think about, and I know are very active in the community. But you can see these our programming here on YouTube, which goes nationally and internationally, and also in the local cable network as well. So please take a look at it when you get a chance, and benefit from the wisdom of Pastor Gardner and Father Milik. And I'll turn it over to Tom, who's going to take us away here.
I just have a couple of reminders for people who might be watching outside. The Whitman-Hanson Regional School District is going to be sponsoring a Family Food Festival on March 18th at the high school cafeteria from 6 to 7. And it's the time we'll be celebrating the cultures and the dishes around the world. And right now they have 19 countries that are representative, and each one of the groups will present a Polish dish or a Jamaican dish or a German dish or whatever it might be.
And you're welcome to cook too.
Yeah. And actually, the Whitman Freedom Team is going to sponsor one of the groups. There's a group that we think is a pretty good population, but at this time probably is a little reluctant to participate in in advertising and so forth. So if you can think about that on March 18th at the high school, that's another good idea. And the other thought I had is that Whitman Day, which is usually in June, I think, June or May, down in the park, something along those lines that we could think about of participating somehow. So we'd love to be partners with you in anything you try, and hopefully we could talk about something in the future.
Pastor
Pleasure.
Gardner and Father Milik, I want to thank you for being our guest on today's
Thank
show.
you.
I
you
think
for having
anybody
me.
who watches it is going to come away with, wow, our religious
fortunate.
community is really well led here. So, Tom, you want to
No.
send off?
I do. I want to thank you both very, very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. A lot of people are busy, and you two are very busy, and it's not easy to make these kind of arrangements, but we appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you so much for
So
having
Thanks for
me.
folks
having
out there,
us.
you're welcome, very much.
We want to thank Rob and his crew there for putting this all together. And this is Mike Kryzanek speaking for Tom. That we'll see you next month. And have another show about the Whitman Freedom Team and trying to achieve our goals of love and inclusion and trust and community. COMMUNITY. So
Amen.
we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.